So, my name is Hannah Sassaman, and welcome to the Lobby Game. So, how many people came to this room expecting to sit and to hear a bunch of folks at the front of a panel talk about lobbying? Raise your hand. Okay, so some small expectation of that. How many people who came to this workshop expected to get up and to actually practice lobbying on an issue that matters a lot for media reform and media justice today? Okay, great. And how many people came here because the word "but" is in the title of the workshop? Preston, Matt, Harpo, Aaron, McEwen. Okay. Note how I know everyone's name who cares about the word "but," which is, now this is being recorded, I've just realized. So, again, my name is Hannah Sassaman. For about 8 years, I worked at a group called the Prometheus Radio Project, and that's very nice, and we lobbied successfully in a huge coalition of people exactly like you, both folks from DC and from all over the country, to expand something called low power FM radio. Try the other mics. Hello? Great, come on in. And so basically people have asked me all the time, like, so how do you do this? How do you lobby? And really the most important thing that people need to remember is that it's everyday folks who care about issues, who try to make connections both with their legislators and who learn how to understand what other legislators need and think, who are able to be successful at moving the issues that matter to them. And when we look at the big corporate interests in Washington, when we look at groups like Comcast and Verizon, when we look at the National Association of Broadcasters and other big companies, we're a lot bigger than them if you look at like all of the folks who live in the United States. And so this workshop is going to be about practicing what a lobby visit looks like, understanding what different legislators want and don't want to hear about, what will affect them to move them when they are being lobbied by you, and how to be strategic as you move through a campaign and learn different things and move on your feet to be able to make change. So the first part of this workshop is going to run through a little bit about lobbying. We're going to give you a mock campaign on public broadcasting just as an example, but everything we're learning here, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about how it's applicable to other issues. For about half an hour, you're going to practice lobbying. You're going to practice lobbying, folks. We have a whole team of Washington insiders who are going to be playing representatives on the right and the left and their staff, and that's how and then you're going to try to move them, and then at the end we're going to see how we do and we're going to talk about it, talk about lessons learned and resources you can take with you. Does that sound useful? Are you guys excited about this? Yeah. All right, so it's going to be fun. So I wanted to introduce the folks who are going to be leading us through this workshop today. First we'll start with Chance.
Hey, Chance. Can you hear me? He's behind the speaker. My name is Chance Williams. I work for Free Press.
Yeah. I'm Rachel. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Rachel Collier. I work for the Media and Democracy Coalition.
It's like a relay team.
Hi everybody, I'm Erin McKeown. I'm a musician, writer, activist.
So now we're going to, do people feel like they have like a really rough overview and are they ready to hear about the issue we're going to lobby on today and learn a little bit about lobbying before you try it out yourselves? And if you leave, if you're terrified, if you're like, I don't want to talk to folks, I encourage you to try it just because this is a really friendly room and there's like a lot of love here for people who can learn this skill effectively. Like, this is something that we all need to do. This is a weapon in our toolkit. It's something I never thought I could do. So I encourage you to stay, but if you leave, no harm, no foul, no problem at all. So let me just pass it off to Chance so he can introduce the issues we're going to be working on for the example today.
Great. Welcome, everyone. As I said, my name is Chance Williams. I work for Free Press. A big part of my job is actually lobbying through the...
They can't hear you.
They can't hear me.
You're gonna have to...
Oh, okay. Oh, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of my time is spent lobbying on behalf of folks like all of you through the Free Press Action Fund. And we have a bit of a scenario here for you today on public broadcasting. So I will just get you guys set up with what we're looking at. So
Great, got it.
Got it. So this is it. This is the situation, and some of this is true, and some of it is not true. All of it's a little bit frightening. During the 112th Congress, the House of Representatives has already already passed an amendment to slash CPB funding by 75%.
Chance, what's CPB?
CPB, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, thank you.
Chance with HR.
Well, I'm getting to that. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting funds National Public Radio to some extent, funds local community radio stations, and it's a resource that a lot of people rely on. There's also some information in your packet about all of this as well. So we're just giving you a little bit of a rundown because we don't want to spend too much time in front because we want you guys to interact and get the most out of the lobbying experience. So what we're facing right now is H.R. 68, which would amend the Communications Act of 1934 to prohibit federal funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting after fiscal year 2013.
This is a real bill.
It's real. It's been introduced, and the fact that it's made it through the committee and all that stuff that's in our scenario has not happened, but who knows?
Technical difficulties.
Just advance the, it's hard to do it from back here.
If it's PowerPoint, you can probably just hit the right arrow.
Okay, so these are the people that you need to lobby. We're in a situation right now with this bill.
Could all of our representatives stand up just for a minute, just so we can point you out?
So we're in a situation right now where it's come down to some key votes in the House to make sure that this bill either passes, depending on if that's something you want to see, or it does not pass, depending on what you want to see. So the folks that we've got here are the Speaker of the House, that's going to be played by myself. We've got Representative Herb McPotter, who's going to be played by Ernesto Falco, who works for Public Knowledge, and he lobbies all the time himself. We've got Representative Bo Bell, who's going to be played by Preston Ray, who works for the Open Technology Initiative at the New American Foundation. And we've got Stella Smalley, which is played by Beth McConnell from the Media and Democracy Coalition.
From Minnesota.
Yeah, Beth is in character. She's not kidding around, so get ready. And then we've got Representative Susan E. Wrong, who's going to be played by Aaron. And finally, Representative Sally E. Recount, who's being played by Carrie Biggs Adams, who works for the Communications Workers of America and has lobbied extensively on public broadcasting. Okay, next slide, please.
Thank
so
you,
these
everyone.
are the people that you're going to be looking at.
They're going to have signs, and they're going to be standing under their signs, so don't worry if you didn't write any of that down.
Can anyone say anything about the air
That's a tough call. I don't know if it's actually if you have to adjust it, but I think that we're going to be moving around enough that it's going to warm up and here's more people trickle in. All right. So what is your role in this? We're going to do some lobbying, and you might be in support of this bill passing, depending on what your perspective is in the group that you represent, or you might be against this bill being passed. So you're either going to be in PR, you're going to be representatives from the Communications Workers of America, you could be the National Federation of Community Broadcasters, you could be the National Black Programming Consortium, or you could be the Tea Party Express, you could be Freedom Works, or you could also be an entity that could be lobbied to some extent. You could be the editorial board of the USA Today, which would have to, has a lot of power to make it, to put out editorial, either in support or against the bill, that could really sway public opinion and therefore impact members of Congress.
So does anyone have any questions about these groups? If there is a description of each one of them in your packet, and you're going to get about 10 minutes to study them when you get divided up into the groups that you're going to be representing. But if you have any big questions right now, we can try to answer them.
So are we lobbying the editorial board, or is the editorial board lobbying all those people?
We're going to talk about who gets to talk to who in just a minute, but the answer is yes to both of those questions.
And are you just going to organize and listen to those groups by, 1, 2, 3, 4?
Do you notice how there's numbers on your packets? We'll get to that in a
We're
minute.
going to do that.
Use the mic for the video.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So those are your roles. And right now we're going to divide people up into groups based on the number that you have on
Why don't
your
we
piece
do
of
the
paper.
lobby
Oh, right.
example?
We're going to do this. So for those of you that have never seen a meeting take place, we're going to give you a very quick example.
So, is there anyone in this room who has never lobbied a city councilor or a member of Congress or their staff before? Raise your hand. Awesome. This is very, including our filmmaker, this is very exciting. We're gonna just show you now how easy it is. So just to reiterate, what we're doing here today is you're going to be divided up into different groups. Like you might be, if you're with the Communication Workers of America, you might, obviously you're someone who might work in public radio or work for a newspaper, care about journalism, or you might just be someone who lives in your town and you know folks who work for the Communications Workers of America. If you believe that, we want to protect journalists' jobs and we want to make sure that CPB doesn't get slashed. So, we have lots of staff working for public broadcasting. So if you're really uncomfortable playing the role, you can be yourself, but just talk about why you care about these issues. So I'm just going to show you an example of how, when you're lobbying, right, you can be yourself, take things that you care about, go into the meeting and be really influential. We're going to use a different issue as an example. We're not going to do a lobby visit on public broadcasting. I used to lobby on something called low power radio, expanding community radio. So we're going to show you a quick example around that. Hopefully there's lessons here that you can take when you're strategizing on your issue that you're going to role play. So we're going to do about a minute, really short visit. Chance is going to play the representative, and I'm going to play the lobbyist. Sound good? Okay.
All right.
So, hi, my name is Hannah Sassaman, and I had an appointment with my representative, with Representative Fatah.
Oh, okay. Hi, nice to meet you. Do you have a business card?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
So, this was up to.
Wow, there's a really nice picture of Representative Fatah with the Phillies fanatic. The Phillies
Hi, I'm
rep.
Representative Fatah.
Oh, Representative, hi, it's really nice to meet you. My name is Hannah Sassaman. I
Okay.
live in your district. I live at 45th and Springfield.
Oh, great. I love that area.
Yeah, it's great, right by the park. So I know you don't have a lot of time, but
Right, I gotta go.
yep, I'm here to talk about House Bill 512. It's called the Local Community Radio Act. Here's a copy of the bill.
Okay.
And so I really care about, this is a bill that would expand community radio to Philadelphia. And
To Philadelphia.
yeah, all over places like Philadelphia, cities like New York, cities like Boston. It's a service called Low Power Radio, non-commercial 100-watt radio stations, like little stations that can serve schools, neighborhoods. Congress limited it about 10 years ago because there was concern that these little stations would interfere with big ones. But now there's a study proving there's plenty of room. Does that make sense? We'd love to get a station in Philly, so I wanted to see if you could.
So wait,
support
there's
this
people
bill.
in Philly that are trying to get radio stations that can't?
Yeah, there's people in Philadelphia who really want radio stations. This is a list of groups in Philly
Oh,
that
wow.
wanted community radio. And
Oh, I spoke at their event.
yeah, this is what the school district of Philadelphia right
Right.
here, and this is like a community organization that's in
Oh.
Southwest, which is also in your district.
Okay.
And so these groups couldn't get stations, but they really want them. And so if you support House Bill 512, if you co-sponsor it,
They can get.
if we pass this bill, then there's a chance that we can get these stations. And it's really important because you know how the economy is right now.
It's terrible.
Yeah, my dad's been out of work for the past 3 years, and these local stations are really great at helping local businesses. They can underwrite and sponsor shows. It just promotes local
Excellent.
entrepreneurship, which I know is a really big part of your work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there something that you think you could co-sponsor? Do you think you might be able to support it?
I'm very interested in everything that you said. I love that that people in my district could really be helped by this, and
Yeah.
especially eliminating poverty. That's really important to me.
Yeah. This is a list of students that live up and down Baltimore Avenue. that-
Education is so important. Children are our future.
Children are our future. and if these kids are able to broadcast on a local community radio station, then they'll have a chance to gain important skills that they can
Wow.
take to get jobs. And I know that Job Corps is like a big program you
that's
support.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? I'm gonna talk to my staff about
Okay.
this, and definitely be sure to follow up with me.
Okay.
Because I want to check in with some of these groups too.
Well, why don't I make a plan to follow up with you next week? I'm going to call the folks at the school district, and I'll make sure that they give you a call, and then I'll call the
Okay,
folks
be sure
at
to
night.
check with Tom in my office.
Yep.
That's the guy to talk. He talks directly to me.
He's got
That's me.
a great suit on today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good.
We try to keep people dressing nice around here.
All right,
It's
thanks,
really
Congressman.
nice to meet
It
you.
was really good. Okay. All right. So, who's really scared to try this out? Who's excited to? Okay, good, nice. Preston and Beth are scared. Great. Who's excited to try this out? Great. So we're gonna break you into groups. But does anyone have like a burning question they need answered before we break you into groups and give you about 10 minutes in your groups to figure out your strategy, to read about the legislators? Yeah.
There are a couple of things that you did that were that seem to me like here are strategies that are useful, like carrying the bill, making sure you always follow.
Yes, you are.
There are a couple of things that you did that seem like important strategies that we should always keep in mind, and I wonder if you could just quickly outline or highlight, some of the things, review some of the things that you did, like making sure that we take the bill with us, making sure that we remember to follow up.
Keep talking. Keep.
And I'm trying to like assess and recall all of the things that you did, making sure that we have if you could just meta review what you just acted out so that I can.
I'll add to that list if you want, because I was watching.
Noticed you did.
Yeah, that's it. What did you guys notice? What did you guys notice that
Yeah.
we did?
Okay, among other things, not only did you have the bill, but you had a list of constituents who were already in support of it. You made it clear that you were a constituent, and you leveraged not just individuals but groups, and you had specific targets that you probably had researched and knew that he had some personal familiarity with. And you came across as very well prepared and maybe a little too eager on the handshake.
All right, and thank you. And we'll popcorn this for about a minute, and then we can review it really quick. But just to let you know, the point is for you guys to try stuff, see if it works, see if it fails. And we're gonna spend the entire last part of the session debriefing, talking about those skills. Okay, it's not about winning the lobby game here. Today's about learning. So.
Well, I noticed that you listed a lot of the bills bills and issues that the congressman was in favor of, whether it was jobs, whether it was education. But one thing I didn't think that you addressed was the opposition. You kind of dealt with that in the beginning by saying, the major opponents or the major broadcasters who, thought it would crowd us out, but a study has disproved that. And I thought that was a little easy. I think because I've done lobbying meetings, and I feel like they come back at you with the opposition a little bit more than that.
You're 100% right. Every single time you go into a lobby visit, almost the first thing that the staffer asks you after they listen for a while is who opposes this? And you're right that I went through that real fast and we didn't talk about it. In the case of LPFM, it was the big broadcasters, and then you can rebut what those guys usually say. So you're going to be talking, there's going to be some folks who are really in favor of defunding public broadcasting, and some folks who are really against it. So these legislators are going to be hearing both from the opposition and for the people who are pro. So you're going to be learning each other's messages here. Yeah, please.
I just want to say something really quick, and then we'll get to your question right there. But you have a lot of resources at your disposal to come up with the information that you need to influence these people. So if you have your laptop, use that. If you have a handheld phone where you can look up information, use that.
My laptop's up here.
Hannah's is up here that you can use to look up information if you wanted to prepare for these meetings. And also we've got the grants and allocations made through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, broken down by state and congressional district and things like that. So, these are up here and available for you to use. So there's some tools that can help you tell the story most effectively with these folks.
Last point, and then we're going to go.
We've got one over here for.
Okay.
I just had a question. I feel like one thing that sort of hampers me when I'm thinking about lobbying someone, whether it be in the city or state or federal government, whoever I want to talk to, how do you guys go about identifying who the best person is to lobby?
that's part of the game today, is if you're from Freedom Works, right, which is a pretty conservative organization, a lot of Tea Party activists, they're one of the groups who's pushing really hard to defund public broadcasting. They really care a lot about, the budget, making sure that we, like debt deficits, things like that. If you're going to talk to, a really lefty person on the Congressional Black Caucus, are your arguments going to work with them? Like, part of this work is to think about who agrees with me, where do I have power as an individual, do we have constituents in that area, has that person voted in favor of my issues in the past, do they have a relationship with the legislator who's the lead sponsor on this bill? These are all the questions that you ask when you start to, or are they on a committee where the bill is a piece of business before them? These are the questions that you ask when you're designing a campaign. We're going to talk about all of that at the end, which is a very compressed example. You're 5 people, not 535, and so we're going to see how that goes, but that's a really good point.
Just a quick comment before, up until a year ago, I was on the side of the table that you guys were going to lobby. So one thing I noticed, what I loved about what you did, Hannah, is you kept direct eye contact with your member. So if you're addressing staffers or if you're addressing a member of Congress, as a staffer, I want to know that you're actually trying to connect with people. If you can make that interpersonal connection with body chemistry, your delivery on your talking points comes across so much better and you become so much more effective as a community activist, as an organizer to the representative, whether it's a senator, state rep, county supervisor. So I think you did that really well, Hannah. And that's something everybody should have watched in the room. I don't know if anybody
Everyone watched and learned from Hannah because this is a person
She's
who has
excellent.
lobbied on legislation that was actually passed. So,
As have all the people in the front row and
Right.
Chance.
a lot of us helped, but.
Yeah.
So we're already falling behind schedule,
So
so
we're
I'm
gonna
gonna
go
be
ahead
the
and get started.
timekeeper now and say no more.
Okay.
So let's want to divide people into groups?
Can we bring that slide back up? Okay, so in your packet, you all have a brief bit of information about each organization, each representative, as well as some tips for lobbying you might want to look at. Now, what we're going to do is divide you guys up into groups based on your number. We have the groups assigned to specific spots in the room. You, as a group, will then come together and decide how to lobby, who your targets are, what you want to say, what you think is the most effective information. One person could do the lobbying, 2 people could do it. You want to stay together, just keep your sign with you as you wander the room so that representatives know who you are. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, cool. So we're going to get started. Who has a number 1 on their packet? Number 1s, you all are NPR, and that side of the room is where you will originally meet.
Can you to the, where's the sign?
Right over here. Who has a number 2 on their packet?
Raise your hand really high if you have a 2.
If you have a number 2, you are going to be a member of the Communications Workers of America, CWA, which is meeting back here to start. Number 3, National Federation of Community Broadcasters, NFCB. You all are meeting right back here to begin. The National Black Programming Consortium is also right back here.
Raise your hand if you have a.
Sorry, that's number 4. Number 5 is the Tea Party Express. You all are meeting right over there. Number 6 is Freedom Works. You will be meeting right over here. If you are uncomfortable lobbying in the position that you have been granted by your arbitrary numbers, it is okay to switch. We are hoping that we get a little bit of everybody in every group, but if you are uncomfortable representing the opinion of one of these groups, feel free to switch. And the number 7s are the USA Today editorial board. We are meeting in the back room. You'll be working with me. We'll have a special assignment. How many of you have 8 or 9 on your paper? Okay, so I think we didn't know how many we were going to come, so this was our trick. We were like, let's make extra groups, and then we'll divide up 8 and 9 where we need them. So if 8 and 9 can sort of come up here, and we'll distribute you, or if you have a preference that you really want to be somewhere, we'll let you go.
We need to defund the liberals.
So, okay. So are we 8 and 9? Okay, 9, great. So I would like to take, I think we need somebody to go to CWA. We also need somebody, 1 or 2 people to be in the editorial board.
Well, I can assume without.
You want to do CWA, please? Go ahead. You want to go to the other side?
I don't know.
Any preference? Oh, please, CWA. I am not. I am a member of Congress.
So are we
lobbying you?
we have instructions? What are we going to figure it out? Well, you just got to figure it out.
Who our target is among the list here.
Okay, let's look at the list. We need the targets.
Freedom versus law. You want to go out and we have a please. And you're 7. You're USA Today editor. If that's suitable for you. I
I guess we get to choose.
And I'm just going to say you have 5 minutes to get your stuff ready. And then we'll the game will start.
Okay, salary. Well, I need to get on board.
And we don't, all of the members are on the side. All the members are on the side.
So you guys know which
Trying to figure it out.
Alright, if you have any questions, let me know. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, we're not going to move. We're not going to move. He's a smoker. I'm a smoker.
There are a bunch of dope smokers out there, I heard.
Exactly. Okay, so.
I guess internet locked. There could also
I mean, do
be
you guys agree with that?
USA Today.
Yeah, so McConnell and Sally, they have their full positions.
Right. I think it's a good plan. We'll hit the moderates, the 2 moderates. Right?
So it's a Ron or Bell?
What about Stella Smalley? Where is she?
Sounds like it could be interesting.
Oh, pretty soon. Co-chair of the PB caucus. As a moderate, he doesn't want to for like any. So we really have maybe 3 moderates.
You don't have to. And you can decide one. When the game starts, you can do both. We
So let's look at that.
yeah, when we want to keep this on the basics.
Alright, Stella. Okay, here's a theory. Highly professional.
There's somebody back here that has taken
Stella's going to want to, she's been the co-chair, right, for our public broadcasting, right?
Right.
And that's probably her fifth year. She makes a big deal. So she may want to.
I have played this game for an entire day once. Actually, it was a day.
You mean to say that again? So if we,
She's been a supporter of public broadcasting in the past,
right?
right? And maybe that's her little chip that she
kind of
uses
secrecy, but as long as you all communicate.
dealing with Democrats on other.
So you don't think we're going to be able to move her?
Well, she might be barred because she might want to hang on.
And my name is Rachel.
Whereas
I might be the announcer.
Ron
I
may be pliable.
people
And what about Bell,
say, no,
Margaret
you can't talk to
Democrat?
them. And I also
He's vulnerable in the deficit.
He supported health care.
I don't have time to research NPR.
Yeah, I don't know. He sounds like one of them liberal commies to me. How come we can connect with him?
Well, we've got some momentum, right?
But he is concerned about the federal budget. We know how much 10% goes to NPR.
And he already spent loads of our budget on credit card, right? So he might want to make a symbolic
yeah,
gesture
you have yourself with
to be a
this
budget.
area, this is yourself with your representatives. There may be some official person.
so we're chewing up time.
Let's look at, have we looked at Susan Wrong in detail?
Get their perspective. I think most of them will be coming to you, but you know, if someone
She might be hard.
right.
She doesn't listen to me.
Right. They don't vote. Right.
Do you all have any questions?
Well, we're just trying to figure out who to target.
Okay.
And the other question is, do you all vote the same person, or do we split?
I think here's my point. I think we definitely
All
should
right,
try to
we are
get the
going to
sign
officially
up.
start in 1 minute.
Sally.
We're gonna start what? Lobbying?
Who are the people we know are in our court? Sally's in our court.
We know Sally's in and we know Herb is out.
And we know Herb is. So,
and I put forth the proposition that Stella is not going to be.
I think we should try to get a Republican and a Democrat to sponsor the bill.
So we want to go after Bo and Susan?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I think we should definitely, one of us should just visit with Sally just to make sure she's on board. I'm pretty sure she's going to be, but we need to talk to her anyway.
So now let's talk about the dynamics. Who should be talking to Bo and who should be talking to
I don't think we do anything in the course.
Well, I'm from Dallas, Texas, so.
Yeah, you sound almost like
I sound like
I'm choosing you for Bo. What do you think for Bo?
Bo from Georgia. Sure, I'll talk to Bo. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, So somebody gets to be double teamed. You get to put two people onto one. Who's going to be the hardest sell?
Well, who's going to be the hardest sell?
I think two of you should visit Bo.
Well, you're one of the two.
Oh, yeah.
You want to visit Bo? You don't want to visit Bo? And then we can do boy girl. You guys could go big cop, bad cop on. You've got
You're going to touch in with Sally over there?
Susan? Okay. All right. So what am I going to talk to Susan? Do you guys want to separate and work on both talking points?
Yeah.
We can work on Susan's talking points.
Sure.
Okay. Let's go to our office. Here's our table. All right.
Susan, not English stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, citizens and organization, listen up everybody. The game is officially about to start, and I would break the news that the Speaker of the House has just hired a new staffer, so you may be communicating with staffer Camilla Kovacs over here if you want to talk to the Speaker. And the game is officially starting. So you all as a group can now start talking to representatives or talking amongst yourselves as groups and coordinating and lobbying amongst yourselves. Yeah, you can grab your sign and move.
Or right there. Yeah, wherever you want to be. Herb McPotter's office is moving because it's kind of squeezed in.
Last line.
This is something
Should I go ask communication workers over here if they would like to?
It's coming out of a different group. NPR. I mean, I don't know if it's something that you should really like. They don't cover your.
Yeah, and certainly
They cover like the big city constituency.
Crazy things my schedule may or may not afford me, and they have full time.
Are you going to use your own name?
I don't know. Let's see. Here you go. Is that Susan
I would like to, of course, in concert with Saturday Bills. I would like to see what were your particular concerns about the size? We're really
That money is going to I think
Are you here to say?
I was in the retirees district, so the health
So, yeah, so they don't.
Or are you What's your name? I'm Mark, and this is Baz. Hi, Joshua. I'm Mark, and this is Baz. Stella, good to see you. Hey. I wanted to step back. Hi, what's your name? Hi. Nice to meet you. Where you live?
Yeah, she mentioned innovation NFC video.
Okay. What are y'all talking about?
Well, we just got started.
You know what it's like. But I'm trying to watch it.
I'll see you later. There's been a press leak amongst your communications team that the USA Today editorial board will be making an announcement and coming out on this issue. So in 5 minutes, the editorial board for USA Today will be closing, and then 5 minutes later, they will be making an important announcement that may affect your bill. So that might mean you want to talk to USA Today and make your pitches like 2 minutes to everyone.
Here she is.
People are looking for Sally Bigmouth. She's right there.
Oh, great. Is that
That's what we want?
Oh, no, we want Carrie Bigmouth.
We can have Sally Bigmouth. Let's go that way.
Maybe we should split up into two.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What group do you represent?
NPR.
All right. I'm over at CWA.
All right. Hey, I'll go with you. Yeah.
Maybe you and I can go attack Susan Wrong while they're doing that. Let me see. Actually, Stella Smalley. She might be easier. She doesn't have drive.
Where is she? Oh, there she is. Let's go over there. Let's go over there.
I bet they get a ton of money in Minnesota because they have great radio. They have like the best radio. I bet they get.
Who wants Al Franken on there longer?
How about two of us wait for them and two of us head over there?
Okay.
And then we'll talk us after we met with them.
Okay. You two are the strongest. So.
I don't care if I go.
Oh, you and I. Okay.
So who are we going to?
We're going to.
I think we did great. I think we made a really good point. Really happy. All about selling them ideas. Who needs to have our Let's storm it. Did you talk to Susan Wrong?
It's very loud in here. It's always busy day
Alliance of Broadcasters and the International Federation of Community Broadcasters. Oh, fantastic. You're against this, or you're for this bill? No, what's going on?
I'm with the National Program. Talking about how this bill will be perfect for all of our organizations. Was her question was why should Black program be supported over others? It's a whole group, it's jobs.
Oh, in real life?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Other than having a next year. Oh, yeah. We have a lot of problems.
Okay, USA Editorial Board, we need to reconvene you, and the board is closing in 35 seconds.
20-something years ago.
We were already there.
Yeah.
How's it going for you, Mark?
We're Tea Party.
How's it going?
Are you guys using local
Not very much on the zero.
I don't know. I don't think that they're telling me that they want to make lower the tax.
But I don't know if I can just walk into a meeting. Is there anyone else that we need to ensure that?
Well, that would be a competition.
Obviously not.
Do remember this donation.
Oh, okay. Sure. Let me know if you need help. All right. How's it going? Are you guys using local facts with people?
FreedomWorks isn't really having a board here. Alright, then I'll try it. I'll stand in wrongs.
Okay.
Very nice to meet you.
I'll see if I can use stuff like that.
We're watching you. You know, we count well here in the Recount household.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to be at 57 with the
How are ya?
No problem.
Where do I go next?
I'm thinking that this is important. I mean, I just don't know. Federal dollars to be accepted.
Federal, like, do they really need the money?
Yeah, she wanted actual.
Yeah, she's like, they're always asking for money. Do they really need So I was thinking that
She's Minnesota.
Yeah, it's really easy to just use this.
So I was going to point out that, or I did tell her, but I didn't have the stats, that, you know, it's really a very small part of the budget that we are, but it's important to them. Of course, employment and redistribution and having
Yeah, this is what we were trying to find them. Maybe what we can do is just find out.
Quiet on the floor. Quiet on the floor.
Went out there, right.
The speaker is,
So I try to make an argument that we have been
1 minute announcement. We'll speak in another minute.
not that we've been.
That is what the Speaker of the House will do.
Sort of suggested to you. So explicitly. Should be a big work for us.
That's wonderful. I do as well. We share this information and love I can hear you. I usually defeat them.
I will say to you, Mr. Lipton, that I just want to point out while I see that you're being
I can't believe you. I just want this. I'm gonna go pull the speaker.
The only vote against the war.
Against the war powers.
Herb is Barbara Lee.
Unless he chooses to decline. I guess you go get it.
Okay, we'll do that as well.
Did she
Card carriers are
All right, we have an announcement from the Speaker of the House. Listen American flags, freedom, doves, eagles.
Welcome, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here right now. I just want to let you know what is going on. Excuse me, the speaker. I just wanted to let everyone know that I will be supporting H.R. 68. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the federal budget has ballooned out of control. We have to make sure that we get this under control. Now, I recognize that there are some members of my caucus that have some local jobs they're relying on, and I would like to see this be as close to a party line vote as possible, but I understand that there's some folks that are struggling with some very important things, and their constituents have made that known to them. But as far as I'm concerned, I would ask everyone to vote for this bill.
Continue.
That's new information, isn't it? Use that information.
So you tell me from there when you want me to go. Well, we're supposed to be voting in 2 minutes.
Okay, so we're just gonna have to cut some of the debrief basically. It'll just have to be 15 minutes, and that's fine. Okay. We can also run a little bit.
So I was just thinking about this. So we want to give them enough time to huddle so that they can decide their vote. Oh, each representative is going to come out and just give their vote. They don't need a huddle. Never mind. I think we will.
Is that right? Is that what we decided?
I don't think they need time to vote.
No, I don't think so, because they're not all in the same party. So will you go around and tell the reps that they need to make a decision in about 3 to 4 minutes?
Are you still going to do your press conference? Yep. Do you want to do that in 2 minutes?
I'll do that in 1 minute.
Do yours in 1 minute. I'll start talking to them. Yep. And I'll give them 4 minutes.
Yeah. 5 minutes.
Okay.
After my announcement, you should tell people that there's like 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Did you read this mic? I will eventually.
National Black Programming Consortium. So, Well, I don't know. How was Sally? How surprising was she?
Very. I mean, I thought she'd be right in our court. She was very concerned about local jobs.
You know, that means a lot to me.
Well, was it just that she's tough, or was it that she really genuinely was?
We thought she'd be an early co-sponsor. We were really very surprised with it.
Okay. So now we have some leadership behind our people. Stella pretty much blew me off.
I'm really concerned about jobs here in Florida.
No, I'm absorbing. I'm sorry. I
Whenever you're.
Well, we talked about.
Following up like randomly.
And then, like 5-minute warning, we're already running behind.
Hello everyone. Hi, my name is Senator Smisa Smirkowski, and I am the senator from Alaska, the great state of Alaska, and I just decided to have this press conference today from my studio because I know that there's a lot of debate happening about public broadcasting these days, and I just wanted to let you know that I've reformed the bipartisan Senate caucus on public broadcasting, and we really think, you know, in a state like Alaska where there's so many, you know, native tribes, where there's so many people who depend on local television and radio, that having a caucus of that sort is extremely important, and that's why we're forming it. And I know that Representative Wrong, my colleague in the House of Representatives, is thinking hard about House Bill 68, and it's important. It's an important debate. This debate really matters, but we really want to make sure that we have this important caucus to talk about these issues in the Senate, while folks in the House are talking and thinking about their decisions. And we really care about this public media thing that my staffer just handed me this paper about. So have a wonderful day, and God bless America, and thank you very much. I'm from Alaska.
This is the 3-minute warning. This is your mad dash scramble to influence the last senator.
Should we go get her? I think it was a good excuse.
3 minutes till the end of the game.
Huh? For the teapot.
God, other members of my district, they were unintroduced, so even though they were their resources, for them to do so. Now,
Thank you so much.
now, I was
We have 2 minutes, and then if we run over, then
The game is ending in 3 minutes, so I'm going to start telling you. I gave you 5-minute warning.
We're going to have to force our way in there.
Okay.
See, that's the problem, is they use that money to send that money up to NPR from Washington, D.C., and so that money's not here in our district.
That money goes back to your district.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, Rep, how are you? It's good to see you. I just wanted to let you know this is a short class meeting, and then you're all going to come together and make a decision.
You did hear about the bipartisan
announcement?
Or
Opposing this bill?
yes.
Bipartisan?
Bipartisan, your colleague.
Well, that's true for DPR. I think
All right, the vote on the floor has been called. All of the representatives in the House are to meet outside of these doors on the floor. And all of the groups are to coalesce and convene again to debrief amongst your team about how you did, how you think you did, what you learned. Go back and sit in your group. Talk about how it went. And all of the representatives should be exiting the door to the left. It's time to vote.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Good work, NPR.
They're all that Oh, yeah, sorry. So why don't you make that announcement? Okay. So, everyone, if we could get you back with your groups, and let's start to think about what we learned. I know that was a whirlwind 30 minutes. So think about what your group did well, what your strategy was, what you think you learned, or what questions you have, or what you want to share with the group. And while they're coming up with their final votes, I'd be happy to sort of let you all talk amongst yourselves, or if anyone has any pressing thoughts. Anybody learn anything?
You have to be prepared.
Be prepared. I think that is #1 on the top 10 lobbying rules that are in your packet. What made you realize you need to be prepared? You guys told us. No. Never mind.
No, I'll tell you. I feel like you have to really be prepared. It's overwhelming, and going up to talk to people, and I felt like I needed to do more research. This is just the first step, and I wanted to practice, so that when I was going to talk to someone, I had the bullet points on the tip of my tongue, not on my laptop.
Yeah.
And so it just reinforced that I need to know the issues more.
Right. And were you the group that came up with the 7 tribes in Georgia?
Yes.
So this group over here grabbed their laptop and did some research and found out that there are 7 tribes that live in Georgia, and just brought that fact to the Georgia representatives. So I don't know if it'll sway their opinion, but that was not in the packet. They just came up and used that fact. So that was very cool. What else? Any lessons learned? Questions? Thoughts?
Well, I learned from one of the representatives who's a moderate Republican that is worried about alienating the right wing of the party, which is the direction that party is taking. She was very concerned about knowing where the other Republicans, how the other Republicans were going to vote, which we did not know because we had just come out of a meeting with them, and they did not make a commitment. And I will say that in the 2 real lobbying meetings that I had, one was on net neutrality and one was on Fair Elections Now Act, from pretty liberal Democrats, I did not, and it may be because they were liberal Democrats, I did not get questions from either of them on where the other representatives stood. So I don't know if that's a typical question that a representative will ask you, or just in this particular case. Yeah.
Camilla has a lot of experience actually. Do representatives ask you who you've talked to and where the other representatives are?
It totally depends on the meeting. So, first of all, it's very rare that you actually get to talk to the representative. I know that's not clear from here. So, yeah, it depends on the meeting. I think you might want to sort of do some of your own research on that and see, how other representatives, have voted. But sometimes, and most of the time, people don't want to tend to speak for other people, but every once in a while you get some.
I think that some things that I found with some of the sexual health bills that we've lobbied for is that a lot of reps will ask who the bill sponsor is, and that'll give them an idea of where certain reps stand, if they have a relationship, or who your co-sponsor is, or what the partner bill is in the opposite chamber, and that'll kind of give them an idea of where their fellows stand, I guess.
So I just want to let you know we have a vote potentially.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears. We're going to go back into the role play. We're going to hear how this came down and why, and then we'll continue our debrief. So,
But first of all, I just want to give everyone a round of applause because you guys were awesome. That's great. Yeah. And introduce yourself with the name of your person.
Good afternoon. This is Representative Bo Bell from the 1st Congressional District of the great state of Georgia. And I would like to express my opposition to the bill in question. That would defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Although I am very sympathetic to the need to make common sense reforms to get this country back on track, cut the deficit down, and return us to an era of confidence and economic prosperity. At the same time, something I came to learn during my research, both for this bill and the previous bill I supported, the Local Community Radio Act of 2010, I came to understand that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting does not only fund the national public radio, nor does it only fund public broadcasting station. It also provides a large amount of support to communications infrastructure around the country for groups that would otherwise be completely unable to connect with their members and connect with their communities. This is very important for me, especially for the Christian radio stations that it has helped fund, and it would be too much of a travesty to cut out the Word of God on Sunday afternoon in South Georgia.
Hey everyone, I'm Congressman Irv McPotter. I will be voting against the bill. Very clear to me, I've met with the National Black Programming Consortium, and it made very clear to me that minority communities and communities that are disadvantaged are dependent on this funding. It's ridiculous that we are looking at this as a target for cutting. I frankly think the House is racist if they go after this, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I appreciate that the editorial board of USA agreed with me. That's why I issued that press release.
I'm Sally Recount. I'm from Gainesville, Florida. And while my husband and I nap at the Chicago School of Economics, and we feel very, very strongly in our family over the free market and how the free market should absolutely rule, I have decided to oppose this bill. I have to tell you, it was a very close call. And I appreciated meeting with those fine folks from the Freedom Works and from the Tea Party, because we always appreciate hearing your opinions. But it's about jobs, and it's about jobs in my district. And I was told that it would be 500 jobs in my district, and I just can't have any more folks laid off in my district. So and that USA Today thing, that helped.
My name is Representative Stella Smalley, and this is a very, very difficult decision. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it, but I have to vote against H.R. 68. It became clear to me from the folks that came to visit me that 70% of Americans support the levels of funding that NPR is at, and actually think it should be either it's just about right or higher. And for only $1.35 a household, that does mean something to working families. But I also think all the jobs that will be eliminated if that $14 million was cut in my district would mean a lot worse to working families. So that was the reason why I had to vote against this bill.
Hi everybody, I'm Susan Brown from Alaska. Keep it simple. Keep it real simple. I am going to vote for H.R. 68. This was a really difficult decision, but I want to assure that our natives, very important native population in our state, that we will take care of you in the absence of this funding.
Nice eternalism.
So let's give a round of applause to our representative.
So now we just want to take a little bit of time for folks, both the folks up here, every single one of whom has either been a staffer on the Hill or who has lobbied the Hill, and for you guys to ask all of us different questions to debrief on some of the different things that we're going to do. We definitely want to make sure that Erin has some time to talk too, just because she started as a community activist and a musician who's gotten a ton of experience advocating on the Hill. So coming from like a community just like the ones we all come from and really making change. So does anyone have any particular questions they want to get some clarity? Great, let me come over there.
No, I was just going to say maybe we should
Okay.
One question that I had, one of the first things that I think sort of happened organically was we started building, coalitions and meeting with people from different organizations that might be on the same side as us. One thing that I wondered as we were doing that was whether it was helpful to meet together with those organizations, or whether it would have been, which we tended to do, or whether it would have been more helpful to sort of divide and conquer and express our support, on behalf of those other organizations.
Did anybody get coalition lobbied?
Do you want to talk? Erin, will you talk about that?
I did. It was I was lobbied by a coalition of the NPR and NFCB, and I think one of the questions I had was those were an unnatural coalition on some issue on Low Power FM. And then here you were coming together in my office talking about this, and you guys answered it really well. Like, what was it that brought your two organizations together there? And I was actually, obviously, not moved enough, but somewhat moved by that. And I can't specifically answer the question as to whether it's better to me.
One thing I actually want to ask you directly, Erin, actually, is just because I know that in working with the Future of Music Coalition, you've had a lot of experience actually working in coalition in real life on different issues. Like, do you find that to be a successful strategy based on your experience?
I do find it a successful strategy. Just as a sort of my general comment here of what I heard and of what my specific experience speaks to, I didn't hear a lot from people about how this stuff was affecting their daily lives. I heard a lot of jobs as a sort of nebulous thing, but I didn't hear a lot of, here's what I do. I had some volunteers come in, so people who have jobs outside of the lobbying industry, and I didn't really hear like how what you're talking about would actually affect like what you do. Were you a small business owner? Do you work for a company? I thought that would have been helpful, and I think that was something that my own experience as an artist, like that's my job. Is like when I go in one of these lobbying situations is to sort of be the real world experience about these issues.
You have the expertise inside you.
I want to speak to that point, like a real world example. It just happened to me. I volunteered from Free Presses. They were doing these meetups to lobby your representative, and I volunteered to lobby Henry Waxman because I'd met with him before. And I got a coalition of 12 groups, well, not all groups, but some of them were groups, some of them were individuals, and we all met with himself in his office. And I said something to him that I had not prepared to say, which was basically that my son started commenting on a St. Louis Cardinals blog. The next thing you know, he had his own blog. The next thing you know, he was asked by the Hardball Times to be a paid staff writer. And none of this would have happened without a free and open internet. And of all of the points that were made to him, he did say afterwards, and then he was very voluble afterwards. He was saying, oh yeah, it's just like how Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook in his dorm room and blah, blah, blah. And I think that really, meant the most to him, and it was really something I hadn't even planned to say. But my question is, this is an issue that's very ideological, and I think that most things are driven, this is my frame, I think that most policy is driven by campaign contributions. And, unless you want to talk about, okay, the Koch brothers are funding the Tea Party and therefore there is corporate money against NPR, I think it's very hard to talk to these congressmen and with a citizen lobby really go up against corporate money. And the Sunlight Foundation said today in the Net Neutrality Forum that AT&T is the single largest corporate campaign contributor in the country. And I just wonder, when you're talking to a representative, is that like the elephant in the room that you just don't even acknowledge, or, how do you deal with that?
Well, just really quickly before, I know Ernesto had a comment, I did want to actually respond to your earlier question, because I know we got off track for a second, but important track, but I think sometimes when you've got an unusual coalition of people going in together, it makes a pretty big difference, but if it's 5 groups with the same perspective, having 5 different meetings makes a pretty big impact, because I met with 6 people, and 4 of them were for, and 2 were against, and so that's 4 against 2 to me, versus one big meeting with everybody all together.
Ernesto has to address.
Well, the issue on like public broadcasting and the perception it's ideological. It wasn't always ideological. There's a very narrow conservative viewpoint on public broadcasting. And when this has been brought up before, and it has been brought up before in the House, it's been defeated on bipartisan lines and voted in advance of bipartisan lines. That dynamic's changed because I think the voices that are louder came out and voted more frequently and in larger numbers this midterm election. But that doesn't mean that this is just an ideological issue. It actually has never been an ideological issue until this last vote, because it's been defeated on a bipartisan basis. So and the reason that is because a lot of people from those Republican districts came out and said, don't do this. And they need to hear from their own people. Ultimately, that's what it is. The church groups, the groups that kind of identify with the conservative base that love public broadcasting. Because in fact, I think polling shows most Republicans actually do like public broadcasting. Those are the kind of groups that we all need to kind of form a coalition with and get them to engage with their members of Congress.
Just to add to that, I know with Ernesto actually we talked a lot about this. It's like when do people actually vote with the industry, especially if they're campaign contributors? Often, but way more often if they don't hear from the public. I mean, the public is a huge resource, and ultimately they do represent their constituents. And so, the important thing is that they hear from them. And part of it too is, like with lobbying, with industry lobbyists, they really do come to the member's office on like a weekly or bi-weekly basis or something. So they hear regularly from those industries that also might contribute to their campaigns. So it's not straight just, I think, the campaign contribution. In fact, they actually get visited by those people regularly, as opposed to constituents who may not visit them as often. But the more we actually go in there, I think it hugely matters.
So I just want to recognize that we are running over now. No, we're running over. We're going to do this for maybe 5 more minutes. If folks have to leave, we completely understand. But we know that this just started. Let's go to the side. Did someone?
Well, is there another mic?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you guys should keep that as all.
Yeah, you guys keep one, and we'll rep one.
And then we saw the questions over here.
It was very interesting to me that Sally Recount there came down on her vote on the opposite side of what you would expect from her profile. This is something I've a fair amount of experience lobbying at the city, town, and to a limited extent the state rep level. And that's something certainly on the city, town level I see all the time, but I don't see it as that common in Congress, and I wonder, does that really happen a lot?
Well, I think it does, and it can when you actually make it local, when you make it about jobs in my district. Even as an ideological Republican, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to vote for jobs in my town.
I just want to also address that really quickly. Representative Bell, who is texting right now,
With about another session.
about another session, and who is my colleague at New America and a wonderful person. Who is modeled after Nathan Deal, who was a Democrat from Georgia who moved to become kind of a moderate Republican. And he was going to vote against low power radio, which is what I was working on for a long time. But when he heard from 2 Boynton, Georgia Christian community broadcasters about how important low power FM was to expanding local Christian voices as well as community voices in a rural area, he not only voted for it, or he co-sponsored it twice, and he became a really important on-committee person. So I just want to reiterate the stuff that Carrie just said, that Camilla just said, that you can move people away from party lines and away from financial contributions if you stay on it and make it local. That's all I wanted to say.
Can I just add something to that? And this is based on the character that I played in this game. I was really shocked that no one no one came to lobby the Speaker of the House, except for the USA Today editorial board. They came by to see if I wanted to make it. I'm sorry.
We couldn't get past your
Well, that was after I made a statement. That was after I made a statement on it, and then suddenly it was an emergency to come talk to me. But I think the reason why you could see this vote come
we
out.
said that we'd do a profile on you if you talk to us.
No, I didn't hear that in the meeting. Nobody said that to me directly. And the thing is that the way that this vote shook out is that if I'm not hearing from people, I'm not going to put a lot of energy into whipping the bill and to make sure that there's a lot of discipline in the Republican caucus to make sure that the vote it goes one way or the other. And so if you've got a senator coming out and saying that, you know, it's dead on arrival anyway, why would I put a lot of effort into making sure that the vote goes a certain way? Nobody approached me at all.
Okay, so we'll do one more question, and then we want to sort of. I want to know like what made Aaron think yes. So final question. We've got.
Okay. And we're all going to stick around after, so you can come ask us stuff directly. I know FreedomWorks really wants some answers to stuff.
I'm really curious. I've been really curious over the course of the
Can you speak more to the mic?
Yes. I've been really curious over the course of the debate about the economy of lobbying in public media. Like who pays for it and does anybody pay for it? I know NPR has a lobbyist who seems to me to be not very effective. But I was looking on OpenSecrets.org and saw that like APM had like this huge amount of lobbying that happened like once in 2008 and then a little bit from NPR in 2010. I just don't see any money moving around here. And I'm wondering who pays lobbyists in public media, does anybody, and how does that work?
So those of us who are actually going out and making those appointment visits, you've got the unions out doing this because we perceive that they aren't saving our jobs. So literally, I do work for the Communications Workers of America. Hey, you did a good job, Harpo, being me. We are actually gathering other unions, gathering free press, calling people out and saying, look, we got to get up on the hill and we got to start lobbying because these people are not going to save this on their own. So that's why we're calling out. That's why we're here. That's who's we? I'm with the Communications Workers of America. I work for the National Association of Broadcast Employees and Technicians. So I actually bargain the contract for the people who work at NPR, for the people who work at PBS, who work at local radio and television stations that are affected by this.
So you're lobbying for jobs.
I'm lobbying for jobs. I'm lobbying to save PBS because if it's affected and if the money can't be used to buy federal programming, I know what will get cut is jobs. Because as I tell people, the electric bill at a radio station is not going to go down just because federal money can't be used to buy national programming.
Okay, so we have to. 15 seconds. Go for it.
Real quick point. I mean, I know NPR's lobbyists. It's one person. There's 218 people that need to vote one way. The only way that changes is if you go talk to your friends and tell them they need to call the members of the House and they need to tell them not to vote for that bill. I mean, ultimately, there's not enough money to override an ideological position that takes focus and that takes people on the ground.
So we're gonna wrap up right now. Right before we do, I just want to say two things. Stay in your seats for one more second. In the back of your packet are tips on lobbying, like how to set up your meetings, how to run a lobby day, the stuff to cover. So some of the stuff we went over in this meeting. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. But I wanted to give, and up here are websites you can go to look up who your legislators are and who their staff are. I wanted to give Erin the last word just because she's just really a star and coming from like being a community person and learning to lobby on the Hill. Like, what's the advice that you would give these folks if they want to do it themselves?
Just jump in. Just jump in and just do it. My first time was 2005. I was on tour opening for Ani DeFranco, and she had some policy folks that she works with who did a whole day about 2 energy bills that were happening that summer. The Indigo Girls signed on. I got to be a fly on the wall. That's how it started for me, is I just kept my mouth shut and watched awesome people that I admired do it. And then I tried a little more. Maybe I had a sentence that I would say in my next meeting. Then the next time I had an issue that I knew a little more about. Then the next time I had a personal story. I started doing work that related to these, and then I could just simply tell my story. And now I'm given the last word on this panel. I don't know how that happened, but I really think it's just something to practice. And I think you guys were awesome. I really think you guys were really good at it. Nice job.
So thank you very much, everyone. Please, please take the extras of these packets. Thank you for trying this. If you have feedback on how to make this better next time, please come tell us. But we want to set up for the next panel. But we'll stick around in here and outside for a few more minutes to answer more questions. Thanks again.
Very good. Well played.